What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's reaction video is what was the worst time to be alive in history. Now, this came out about 3 months ago, and it kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
Do you get the vibe I'm going with?
Because of COVID and all
Yeah,
that.
because of COVID. I was going to say, I just thought you were agreeing with me then.
No.
I wasn't sure.
No, because when you said, do you know why? I was like, do I? You've just doubted me.
That's what I mean. You said yes. I was like, well, we haven't spoke about this, so...
No, it'll be interesting to see that obviously times were worse.
Yep. What times were worse and stuff like that. Now, on the thumbnail, it was 536 was the year. I don't know whether that was before or after Christ. It didn't say. And then it obviously showed 2020 with COVID and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. That's
So it is hinting at kind of like now technically isn't the worst time. Or maybe it was. But 536, I think it was on the thumbnail. I've got no clue what that date means.
No.
So we're going to learn
I'm sure
something
there's
new.
more worse times than COVID.
Definitely.
Like wars.
Wars potentially, and maybe other illnesses. There's been the plague, there's been all sorts. I think it was the Spanish flu as well, which was very similar to COVID. Killed a lot more people, I believe. Ebola, yes, but I don't think it killed as many people.
I don't even know if that was one.
It is bad, but I don't think it killed as many people. You know what I mean?
Right, okay.
Because it was one of them which was... Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, it was a high kill rate, so it didn't spread that far.
Okay.
And I think there is still instances of it about, but it's very rare because it kind of just killed the people it got to, so it couldn't spread.
Right.
Whereas COVID can spread because it's not killing everyone, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's find out what was the worst time alive to be in history. Apologies for no videos yesterday. You've been ill, haven't you? Well, I was ill last week, which is why we used our cover videos.
Yeah.
Millie has been ill, and we recorded the other day.
And yeah,
got the 2 done, and then
yesterday, so we couldn't record yesterday.
Dropped a bit again. So if we're not feeling well, we're not going to record. There's no point faking or anything like that. But we are going to try and get a few done tonight, aren't we? So
just in case.
Just in case we go a bit worse. So there may be a few cuts, just if you cough or something like that really bad. So that is why they're potentially in there. And apologies for my hair as well. I'll probably look like a right scruff.
Haircut next week.
Haircut next week. It's been over a month since I had a haircut. I don't think it's ever been this long in my life. So I do apologise if I look like a scruff and I can't speak. But yeah, let's get straight into it. What was the worst time to be alive in history? You keen?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Definitely. What could it be?
Exactly, because all I can think about in my head is the war.
Yeah. Let's find out. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and let's get straight into it.
What was the worst time in history? The Time magazine decided it was the year 2020. It seems to me that the Times magazine should have hired a competent historian. Yes, it was the time of bitter political disputes and riots, which deteriorated into violence and, above all, the pandemic that threw us off balance. Each one of us has...
That was such a mental time, wasn't it?
It's weird looking back at it now, because when you're living in it, it's like... You're just doing it, aren't you? But then you look back and you think, we actually locked down.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking the original, like, in Wuhan? I believe it was Wuhan, wasn't it? It was Wuhan. The original ones, I remember being sat in the office around February time, but before this all kicked off, been like, oh, look at them, they're singing between the buildings, like, oh, how brutal is that? Yeah. Kind of, it's just
it just seems like a world away. It's
exactly.
Like, it doesn't feel like it's gonna, especially like in Jersey, because we're quite like nothing's gonna get to us.
We were kind of laughing about it in the office, like, oh, China's screwed, like I can't believe that, you know what I mean? And then suddenly
it just spread country by country.
Yeah, and then it's what,
in
2
like
years later,
weeks, wasn't it? Because like I think
mental.
It was February that time that we started hearing about it, and then it was March that we started.
Yeah, we locked down. I think it was, wasn't it? So it is just mental looking back at this visual, like what we were thinking when we first saw it. We was like, oh, that'll never get to us. That's mental. And then suddenly we've been locked down for 2 years, pretty much, haven't we? But we're coming out of the other side of it, which is great.
I'm not sure what the New York one is.
I think it's just showing the city, to be fair.
Right.
Maybe not being as busy.
Maybe.
But even the riots and stuff like that, again, awful to see the riots. I get they were protesting for Black Lives Matter, which is a great cause. But the riots and the looting and stuff like that, I completely forgot all that had happened.
I actually forgot about that. That all happened. Did that happen before?
That happened during. That kind of like was, we'd done our lockdown stuff like that, and then it happened during.
Oh, it was the George Floyd, wasn't it?
George Floyd and stuff like that.
I forgot about all that.
Yeah, it's all just merged into one like mess of a couple
the last 2
years.
years have just been like, And I feel like they've just flown by.
Definitely. All right, let's get into this. We're only 25 seconds in, and we're about 6 minutes into the recording. Some people are going to be fuming. Let's check the video out.
Faced disturbing thoughts. It felt like we met this planet at a very strange time in her life, but believe me, it wasn't the worst. In this video, I'll give you the opportunity to wake up in other, more challenging periods, so as not to judge the year 2020 in the heat of the moment. You'll find out, what is life like without the sun? How can the absurd one-man rule destroy the fate of thousands of people? And what was the worst year in human history?
Why have I got goosebumps?
I know, I want to listen to him about science, you know what I mean?
You woke up very early to sharpen your spears for mammoth hunting. You are a representative of the Clovis culture, and you live during the Younger Dryas in North America. Suddenly, you see a strange star with a long white tail in the sky. It keeps increasing day by day. You live at the time when people, of course, don't know a thing about space yet, and they're unaware that this strange star is actually a huge asteroid composed of fragments up to 4 kilometers in diameter. And then, this deadly object crashes into the ice sheets of North America and Europe. The energy released at that moment triggers a series of fires. You grab your wife, your kids, and run away from the fire. A huge amount of ash from burned, dense continental forests is mixed with an astronomical amount of water vapor released into the atmosphere from within the Earth-impacting asteroid. This black veil covered the sun, so your journey continues in the dark. Glacial water starts melting. You can see the waves 200 feet high rolling through the north. Nowadays, they would have fully covered the Tower Bridge. Only a short time ago, you were running away from fire, and now you're afraid that you and your family will be swept away by the waves. Meltwater rushes into the Atlantic. Ocean currents will stop for decades, plunging the world back into the Little Ice Age, which will last for 1,000 years. Now you're a homeless nomad who wanders in search of at least some surviving plants or animals to feed his family. Or should I say, those who didn't die on the way. And if in ancient times people's lives were threatened by space phenomena, with the development of society, universal damage could be caused by people themselves. The worst time for political reasons. You wake up...
That was brutal.
Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, we've got a war piece of cake, haven't we?
2020 was not the worst year.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine if that actually happened today, that a meteor did. I know at the moment they're kind of developing stuff to test, like shooting back at them to deflect them and stuff like that. But imagine if that did happen. It'd just destroy the world, doesn't it? Like, as we know it, at least.
Yeah.
It'd be absolutely mental, wouldn't it?
So
but,
would we die?
Well, potentially. Some obviously survived, but it depends on where it hits. If it landed on your head, you're a bit screwed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it landed near you, you're a bit screwed as well.
If it landed like near Australia, would we be alright?
I imagine it would affect us. Just going off that with the Ice Age and stuff like that, it definitely would with a cloud. It's going to be a worldwide thing.
Right.
Like, obviously, he was kind of focused on, he didn't really say how far it affected, but I'm pretty sure it affects the whole world.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the ash cloud would potentially affect the whole world as well.
Yeah.
Which is then kind of like when you go into Yellowstone with that exploding, that would affect us, and we'd still have a nightmare with no sun and all that as well. And which, if you have no sun, the earth gets cooler, you're screwed that way as well. Like, there's a lot of knock-on effects. I don't know all of it, and I'm definitely not a pro, but I know a little bit. So yeah, let's hope that never happens.
Let's hope.
But already 3 minutes in, that trumps anything else by like a million times. You know what I mean? Wow.
Early again, because you're a poor Chinese farmer in the late 20th century. You must go to work and earn points. Many years later,
so like that's
such
not
a
that far.
remuneration
That's not that
system
long
will be
ago, really. Like in the grand scheme of things, like my mum was born 10 years or something so later.
Yeah.
Like it's not recent.
Just after the war, pretty much.
But it's not like centuries ago.
No, yeah, literally just after the war.
That's crazy.
It was like, what was it, 58? So you're talking 50 years, 14 years, 64 years. Not
My
grandparents.
grandma was alive.
Exactly. It's talking about China though, so this is the politics one.
Right. Okay.
So not necessarily physical. Well, maybe it is physical as well. We'll see. It's the politics and all that, which aren't always the best in places like China, North Korea, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, North Korea's the worst for it, but not always the best, especially in history.
Shown in the Black Mirror series as a version of events in the near dystopian future, and the viewers won't even know that such things already existed in the past. The Chinese leader, Chairman Mao Zedong, developed an economic and social plan for rapid modernization. Wages and money are replaced by work points. There's no private property either. From now on, everything belongs to the commune. Millions of skilled farmers get transferred from farming to manufacturing. There's nobody to harvest crops, and they start to rot. You're desperately trying to save the harvest, and then Mao orders to exterminate all the sparrows to stop them from eating the cereal seeds. You are shocked by such a foolish political reform because once the sparrows are exterminated, there's no one to exterminate locusts. You can't alone bear the burden of stopping the spread of these pests. You have nothing to eat, and eventually, you, along with the other 55 million victims of Mao's thoughtless policies, end up starving to death.
Oh my
Staying
God.
at home during quarantine is nothing compared to the Mao era. At any time, we could order food delivery and have a quiet, safe rest in our apartments, which nobody intended to take away from us. And now imagine this. You wake up on the North American coast where you live with your tribe. Some strangers approach you. They don't bother using any polite ways to ask to get some supplies from you. And when they get rejected, one of them threatens to deprive you of the moonlight. The next night, the moon seems to be stolen from the sky. When the strangers come again, you share food with them. You just don't know that you're dealing with Christopher Columbus. He's very good at astronomy, so he managed to fool you because there was a lunar eclipse that day. This man's visit triggered a series of horrifying events. When Columbus discovered America instead of Asia, all of Spain rushed to this exotic country. The Spanish were quickly followed by Portugal and then France, England, and Holland. Thus began the colonization of America. Finding no initial resistance from the local population, Europeans behaved like aggressors, killing and enslaving Native Americans. The Spanish conquerors were particularly cruel. They looted and burned the villages of the settlers and then killed them. You managed to escape from the invaders' attack, but in a few days, people in the tribe started getting a fever, feel nauseous, and suffer from whole body aches. The thing is that after contact with European settlers, the entire tribes that had been isolated from the world for years started getting exposed to new diseases such as smallpox. You're dying in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, knowing that your tribe and culture were destroyed by the conquerors. The only thing that might be more dreadful is times of large-scale military conflicts when there were great losses on all sides.
I tell you what, I do really like how well this video's been done.
Yeah, it's very like factual, but also like not boring.
No, it's proper entertaining. Like you're intrigued in there.
Yeah.
It's got a unique voice as well. I think the voice draws you in as well.
Yeah.
Well done. And I mean, on the last subject, it kind of was the way of the world back then.
Yeah.
All the Europeans pretty much greedy, including Britain, which is awful to see. And I never really thought about the whole exposing them to germs and stuff like that. Because I suppose it's kind of obviously not the same, but on a tiny, tiny scale, because I know I'm going to get roasted if I say it's the same. Kind of like when we were in lockdown, and then you'd go out, and suddenly, like, when you finally got let out and you were mixing with other people again, everyone seemed to be getting colds left, right, and centre. Obviously not dying, obviously not exposed to these new germs. But it was kind of like your immune system hadn't had it for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you were just easily getting a cold. Which the logic is the same. Obviously, what happened obviously isn't. Because I know I'm going to get roasted for saying it was the same. But it kind of, if you're not exposed to it before, how you can just be so vulnerable to it.
It's true. It's like most some illnesses, isn't it? It's like chicken pox or whatever.
If you never had it, very
Yes,
vulnerable.
yeah.
You get it,
Yeah.
and then you find about after it,
Yeah.
aren't you? But again, if you've never been exposed to these, you get chicken pox, then get a couple other things at the same time.
It's just-
Game over, unfortunately. But I never really thought about that. So again, another interesting thing which I've learned from that.
Sides. You wake up, but this time in the middle of the night. You and those of like mind conspired to set fire to a Catholic church at midnight tonight. You're a student at Charles University in Prague. And instead of gaining education, you have to fight for your religion and freedom in the military conflicts between the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation and the rest of Europe. It all started with a series of religious struggles between Protestants and Catholics. In southern Germany, only a third of the population survived the war, which eventually lasted for 30 years. It took over a century for many areas to recover from the effects of economic and social decline. According to various estimates, the total losses ranged from 5 to 8 million people. But the worst part is that you might not experience the honor of dying in battle, but instead die of typhus or dysentery or bubonic plague. There are data that in Germany it killed more people than the battles did. You might as well wake up in the first half of the 20th century. During that period, the world was shattered by 2 world wars within 30 years. Genocide and massacres were committed throughout the world in the name of political ideologies, resulting in the death of hundreds of millions of people. Even if you were a veteran who managed to survive the First World War, you could end up dying of the Spanish flu pandemic. It claimed the lives of up to 100 million people. That's 5% of the world population. But the most devastating conflict ever witnessed in history is the Second World War. It was the limit to human cruelty. In addition to military actions, which obviously claimed many lives, Nazis were ordered to exterminate all Jewish people, as well as Roma, some Slavic people, Jehovah's Witnesses, the LGBTQ+ community representatives, and people with mental and physical disabilities. During those years, the number of deaths reached 18 million people. But the aggression came not only from Nazis. On August the 6th, 1945, America dropped an atomic bomb on innocent civilians of Hiroshima in Japan. It exploded with an energy of 15,000 tons of TNT. The bomb demolished and burned about 70% of the buildings. The explosion killed about 40,000 people, and those who survived suffered from chronic diseases, cancer, and other effects of radiation for the rest of their lives. Therefore, when you went to sleep during the Second World War, you could never be sure you'd wake up. Your house could be blown up, burned, or you could be shot while asleep. But still, what's the worst time to be alive in history? The final event I'm going to tell you about is very similar to the disaster I started with. The worst morning in history looks like this. You wake up in Iceland at early 5:36.
Yeah, this is the 5:36.
You can't see anything around you because of a thick fog. At that time, the sky above Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia got covered by such dark fog that it blocked the sun for a year and a half. That's how the Dark Age began. The thing is that in Iceland, there was a catastrophic volcanic eruption which spread ash across the northern hemisphere. But you don't know that. And you think the tragedy is some dire omen of heaven, as if a higher power is punishing you for something. You're trying to bundle up because the Earth's average temperature dropped sharply between 1.5 and 2.5 degrees Celsius. And so this went on.
Got to think, right? You touched on it there. You don't know what's happening. You haven't got the technology today. Some people don't even know Iceland exists or what a volcano is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Suddenly, it's gone black.
Yeah. You wouldn't have a clue, would you?
It's literally like, yeah, let's say we just went outside today.
News things or anything like that, so you have no idea what's going on.
Nothing like. We went outside today, just black. No sun. And we're like, And then nobody reporting it. Everyone's like, we don't know why that's happened. And then suddenly you start getting colder, which again is going to kill people as well. 1 or 2 degrees to the Earth, I'm pretty sure it's disastrous as well. So you're going to start killing people. You wake up day 2.
Still just like that.
Still dark. Imagine when it cleared though. Because a year and a half is a long time.
But like, you'd be like...
Yes, that's like 500 days in the future. You just say
and
like,
these people
oh, it's light. What?
Never know what it was, probably.
Oh no, they wouldn't, because they'd have died before they knew about it. Or maybe news travels fast with some pigeons or something back then. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't even figure stuff out. Maybe after, like, oh, by the way, it was a volcano. It travelled eventually. Let us know in the comments.
That's so funny.
Maybe.
I doubt they knew what it was.
Exactly. And there would have been...
just thinking...
There'd have been babies as well, which would have been born in this period.
They just thought the world was dark.
Yeah. And I suppose a year and a half would only be 1.5, so they probably wouldn't realise when it suddenly comes in, maybe not. But maybe, let's say you were 1 or 2 years old.
You might be like 4, and still not really.
You might be 2 years old or something. And then by the time you get to 3.5, 4, you suddenly see this sun, you're with it a little bit, and you're like, well, I've never seen this before. What is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That must be pretty crazy.
It must be quite scary.
Definitely. I mean, the whole situation must be.
Because, like, yeah, it must be.
Very
for the parents, though, they're like, well, we know what this is. We've had it before, but where's it been? And for the kids, they're just like, what is this?
Well, I think the parents might be kind of like over the moon because they probably haven't been able to grow crops, haven't been able to grow food. True. Animals dying off, so they were probably starving and getting to a point where they can't live much longer potentially. Imagine maybe only the fish potentially survive, but again,
especially if you've got like family and things, that must not knowing when it's gonna
the next meal's gonna come or if the sun's ever gonna come. I suppose you're kind of thinking, well, that's it, it's died out. That light in the sky has died out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially at that time of like.
Yeah, like
history,
you just don't know, do you?
No.
So it must have been crazy. So you must be like over the joy of that first day. Suddenly, when the sun's come back, a bit of warm on your skin. That must have been pretty cool. Maybe it came back after a year, but it was just cloudy for 6 months.
Maybe it was just here in England, like maybe
just cloudy all the time. Just good old British weather.
We don't even see the sun anyway.
On for 18 months. Thus began one of the coldest decades in the last 2,300 years. Drought and famine spread everywhere. Suddenly, you get sick. It feels like you're burning. You're weak. You're dizzy. The pain is splitting your head to pieces. You keep fainting. You're thrashing around in bed. You're coughing up blood, and you're experiencing strange visions. This is how plague will take your life. The plague had been striking people for 15 or 18 major waves of the pandemic. That disease killed about 50 million people. Corpses covered the streets like carpets. What do you say about the pandemic period now? Are we really living during the worst years? In fact, people have never lived longer, better, safer, or richer than nowadays. In the 18th century, the average life expectancy of the world's population was only 29 years. And today, on average, we can make it to 70. Just for the last 25 years, 1/7 of humanity has been saved from extreme poverty due to economic growth. More people than ever before have enough food. Modern medicine made significant progress, and the spread of democracy made the world freer and safer. This stunning leap is the greatest achievement in human history. Write in the comments your reasons why you think the time we live in is the best, and subscribe to the channel.
It's not bad at all, is it? Oh, I was accidentally clicked on that video.
No.
Not bad at all.
No, it's not. But it was, I wasn't expecting that either.
Yeah, me neither.
It was a good, it gave us good facts and everything. And also it made me realise that I shouldn't have moaned as much as I did last year.
Exactly. It puts it into perspective a little bit, doesn't it? We're so lucky.
Really, I know the virus was bad and, people died, but we also got time with our families that we never had before.
Definitely. I worked from home, you were off school, weren't you? Yeah. So you got to chill every day. So that was all right for you.
But parents that work and don't get time to spend with their children or with their partners and things like that. Yeah, they got that.
So, and I think it will be one of them where we'll look back as well, not only on the negatives or positives. I think it will kind of be like, remember that year where we all just worked from home? Like we didn't. Nobody went into an office. You woke up, put a dressing gown on, sat where I'm sat right now.
With your family talking, chatting. I mean, obviously people had it hard. Some people had it hard, but
everyone's different experiences, and we hope you guys are okay and hopefully didn't have it too bad. But I think it would, compared to some of them,
it was like a bad year, but kind of a good year for some people.
It was definitely a bad year, but put into perspective,
it wasn't as bad as
not compared to some of them. Definitely not, and not even just on how bad the year were. It just kind of shows how good we have life right now as well.
Yeah.
So especially us.
And now like our healthcares and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's been a very long one. So smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and if you legends are still around, put hashtag to the end in the comments.
Yeah, we'll know if you
we'll know, because if you legends have been here, there's a few of you who definitely make it. So put hashtag to the end after any of your comments or something like that, and we'll see that you legends have made it to the end. Have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll see you legends in the next one. Peace.